All right. So just for the recording, I get cloned or I forked over apple trees and I cloned it down to my personal GitHub, or I forked it over to my personal GitHub and I cloned it down to my local machine. And I'm just inspecting the files right now. I've got the two spec files, apple tree spec and apple spec on my right-hand side, and then my apple tree runner. All right, so here's the runner file. I don't necessarily know what that is actually doing right now, but let's go ahead and open up the other two apple tree class object. So it looks like this is it. And then the apple class. All right. So let's look at the release one. So just implement the apple tree class and apple class. You'll need to be able to call tree.height and tree.age to get a tree's height or age respectively. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we might need. So for the init, for the apple tree, we're going to need self.age and self.height at least. I'm going to instantiate these with initial values of 0, so I don't have to actually pass them in, because when we create a new when we create a new instance of a tree, the age is 0 and the height is 0. So that's what I know so far, but I'm going to run this apple tree spec file. Python, so hold on. Whoa. ls, all right. Python, apple tree spec. So we get 4 failures. Let's see. Fail, fail, fail. What, I don't know necessarily which one that one is. Does anybody know how I fail immediately? So it doesn't run all the tests, it just runs until a test fails, and then is it
dash fail fast, I think.
Fail, is it one word? Fail fast. Cool. All right. So test age tree. So this is the first one that's ran, and this is the first one that fails. So let's go ahead and try to solve this one. So where did it solve? When you age the tree, it increases the age by 1. All right. So I've got assert equals apple.age is 0. So that should be correct initially. And then when I call this age tree method, so does it have an age tree method? Yes, it does. So let's see if I can pass this by doing self.age plus equals 1. So let's see if that passes that first one. Cool. So it actually passed that first unit test. That doesn't necessarily mean that this age tree is done. It just means I passed the first unit test, because we might want to add some additional logic to this age tree method. All right. So test age tree height. So here we created an instance of an apple tree. Apple tree.height has the original height. Then apple tree.age tree is, it should, looks like I call apple tree.height should be greater than, so assert greater, this value should be greater than the original height. Okay, so I can kind of do that very same thing, height plus equals 1. Again, we might want to update that, but let's just keep going. All right, so test any apples. So I ran it again. I passed the first 2 unit tests. So test age height tree and age tree. Now it's failing once it gets, so it's not even doing this one yet. So just because the order that these run in, or just because of these orders, the order that they're written in, doesn't necessarily mean it's the order that they're executed. Just keep that in mind. Because I remember the first time I ran this, like all of them failed except for the last one. But yeah, so a test is tree is dead. So I haven't done this one yet. So I'll come back to that one. So test any apples. So I create an instance. Initially, it doesn't have any apples. So any apples. So it repeats 10 times. I age the tree. So it looks like I can age the trees at 10. So I guess when I run the age tree, it should start to grow apples. So I can update this method. Let's see. How do we want to do this? So I can literally just do like for I in range. I can literally just create a new apple in here. But where am I going to store those apples? I'm going to create another instance variable, self.apples, and it's going to be an array of apples. So any apples. So I also have to do something with this method. So if this is going to be stored, this array is going to be storing all my apple instances of the tree. Down here, I can just say return what should I do? If length of self.apples does not equal 0, then it returns
greater than 0.
Oh yeah, you're right. Thank you. So this returns the length. As long as self.apples is length is greater than 0, that means it has apples. Therefore, this will return a Boolean value, true or false. Okay, so that should be good for any apples method. You can also do like an if else statement if you'd like, but this just automatically returns a Boolean value. All right. But let's do the age tree. So I guess every time I age the tree, I can literally just do like self.apples.append. I'm going to have to create a new apple instance. I'm going to have to import that apple from apple, import apple. I think that's the file. All right, so I can create a new apple instance like so. So if I run that, I've got 3 fails, or I'm 3 passes. So I pass that one. Again, I'm going to probably have to at some point update this, but right now I'm just doing enough to pass the unit tests. So test is tree dead. Let's go here. Test is tree. When you call the is dead method, it lets you know if the tree is dead or not. All right. So is dead. So it looks like once the age, so check is dead. We have to have some argument or parameter to check whether or not, or some condition with the tree to determine whether it's dead. It can be how old the tree is. So it looks like here's apple.age equals 500. If it's at least 500 years old, if we call it is dead, therefore it's true. So, so how do I do at what age do you want the tree to die? It doesn't necessarily have to be 500, but it has to be.
I think the README said something like 100.
Oh, is that what it says? All right. Oh, aging.
I just
Just
picked that.
past
You
it.
just went past it. Number
I pa-
4 right there.
Oh, let's say the tree dies at age 100. Okay. So why don't we, I'm going to create another instance variable self.is tree dead equals false. And then return is tree dead. Self is tree dead. Well, maybe that might not work. Because this is just automatically updating the age. So it's not even, there isn't another method in here that's going to be changing, that's being called. So in here, we're going to have to add some logic. So like if self.age is greater than or equal to 100, I'm going to self.is tree dead equals true. And then return I'm just going to return self.is tree dead. I guess I don't even really need to do that. So that should work. All right. But if we age the tree, we also want to check whether or not the tree is dead. So age tree method, which ages the tree 1 year and grows the tree a little. It's true if the tree has died. All right. But so like age tree right here, let's actually just see if this works. The unit test works. Uh-oh, what happened? All right, so it looks like that worked, but pick an apple might not work. All right, but with age tree, we can say like, hey, if the tree, if self.age is greater than or equal to, hold on, trying to think. So once we reach, so once the tree is dead, it's not going to grow at all either. But it'll always increase in age no matter what. So at what, so we want to grow. So if self.age is less than or equal to or greater than or equal to 100, self.is tree dead is going to equal true now. But else, let's see. And then we can just say like if that is tree dead, if not, something like that. So this, it's going to age the tree. If the age is greater than or equal to 100, it's going to make the tree die. And then it's going to say, if not, so if this is false, then it's going to grow the tree and it's going to create some, or it's going to add an apple to it. Does anybody have any questions on that? There's other ways to implement it. True.
Couldn't you just call,
Is tree dead?
yeah,
But I'm gonna need like if self dot is tree dead equals.
Yeah, so if that is true, or yeah,
Then. So the question is, do we need this here then? And that's just a design choice that I'm doing right now. So I can either check whether the age or yeah, it just depends on whether or not I actually need this here, of whether or not the tree is dead. But I'm just checking. So I need some place when I age the tree to check the age in order to switch this instance variable or to reassign it. But I can also just use age as well. Yeah, because typically I'd normally just want to just return a Boolean value here. But because in this scenario, I'm editing the age instance variable directly to 500. I'm not calling the age tree to check. That's why I have this logic here. But otherwise, and that's just for the testing purposes. But otherwise, I shouldn't have that there. Because the only way to age the tree should be if you call the age tree method. But this should work for right now. All right. What else? So pick an apple. We can also do something here. So if the tree is not dead, so how many apples, or like here, we're always growing the height by 1, which isn't necessarily like 1 foot. We can do like a random. So I can say like import random, and I can grow the tree. Is it rand int or ran int? Between 0 and 5. So it grows a tree a certain height. What else? So it grows a tree a certain height, and also I can do like for I in range random, some random number, ran int 0 and 15. It grows a bunch of apples, so it grows between, I guess, 1 and 15 apples. Well, let's just do 1 and 10.
Hey, can I stop you there and ask a question real quick?
Yep.
So you're doing a for loop there, and that that makes sense. But over in your spec file, it's using the iter tools to do the same thing. It's doing a repeat there. Could you just explain what it has the underscore? It's for underscore in iter tools. Where is it getting the underscore? Like, how is it choosing that? Is that just picking a iteration variable? Okay.
Yeah, it could be the same thing. The only reason why it's underscore, and I can do the same thing here. And the reason why it's an underscore, it's letting the developers know like, hey, this underscore, we're not actively using this index or this number at all in the program. We're just using it to repeat something a number of times.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't know if that was a keyword that had to be used there or if it was just what they were using. Okay.
I don't believe, no, it's not a keyword. It's just, yeah, we can call this whatever we want, but just underscore, just to let developers know that, hey, this is literally just being used to repeat a piece of code a number of times. So we're not actively using the index or this number for anything within our program.
Okay, cool, thanks.
All right, let's see. Uh-oh. All right, we have that fail fast 5. So test pick an apple. So we have apple tree. So we create an apple instance. We have an age tree. So when you call the app pick apple, it will return an apple object. So pick an apple. So here I can just say like, if there are apples on the tree, self.apples, I guess would it be length greater than 0? Like say picked apple equals self.apples dot pop. I can pop the apple at the very beginning, and I can just return a picked apple, because here it will return you an apple object. If I run that, all right, all 6 tests have passed. So test pick an apple error. When you call the pick an apple method with a tree that has 0 apples, it will raise an error. So that was already written for us. So it raises an error, no apples are on your tree. So assert raises an exception error.
So the
Here.
raise doesn't need an else.
Nope. Because essentially if this isn't true, it's going to automatically hit this raise exception.
Okay.
All right. And now we also have this Apple spec file. So Python, Apple spec. All right, let's see what this does. So when you create an apple, it will have a diameter greater than 0. All right. So let's create an apple. Apple dot diameter. So we need a diameter instance method or instance variable. And we can literally just do like equals 2 if we wanted to. So if we do that, it passed, but let's look at this runner file, how this works. Let's see. But let's actually, again, like, let's make this a little bit dynamic. Let's do like import random. And let's say, let's see. Let's pick a diameter. Like what are the average diameters, or like what of apples?
I actually Googled a bunch of diameters for Apple.
What is it?
2.38, 2.40. And you can do that all the way, what arbitrary numbers you want, all the way to like 3.9, I think was the highest.
3.9. So I'm going to create a min size class variable. So min size is 2. I'm going to create a max size of 4, because you said 3.9 or something. And let's see, random pick a random, that's not how you spell it, random number between 2 numbers in Python random library. But I also kind of want, there's the rand int. So we can read the, but maybe I want, so there's choice, shuffle, sample. So, but I want point numbers. So like 2 point, like you were saying, like 3.9. So this one here, return a random floating point number n, such that a is greater than or less than or equal to n is greater than or less than or equal to b. All right, so the endpoint value b may or may not be included in the range, depending. So it is inclusive, which is good, and a is inclusive. So random A. So if you want to see. So it looks like there's no examples of that. So let's just do like random dot uniform between 2 and 4. And I'm just going to print self dot diameter. So when I run those test files, this test file, the Apple's tree spec, every time it creates an Apple instance, it's going to print this. It's going to print all the diameters. So I just want to see what they look like. All right. So here are all the diameters of the apples that were created during this spec file. So cool. We get like 2.14, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why it's 0.3, blah, blah, blah. That's interesting. But those are a lot of decimal points, and I don't want to use all those decimal points. Let's round it to like the nearest hundredth.
Can you use rand int instead?
Does rand int?
Yeah.
So if I did that, see, these are whole numbers. I want floating point numbers.
You could just multiply that random randint number by a decimal number, and then you'll have a floating point return. I've multiplied mine by 0.25.
Oh, okay, so it's not truly rand. Well, I guess if you're multiplying by 0.25, it's enough consistency to be. But let's do this programmatically. So we can use the round method. And instead of plugging 2 and 4 in here, we have these min max size. Well, let's just see what this looks like, and then we'll fix it. So I'm going to round it for the nearest hundredth. There we go. That's a little bit nicer. But in here, let's not hard code this too. Let's actually use our class variables, min size, apple dot max size. Run that. There we go. I don't know why that is like that, but we'll deal with that. And now the runner, let's read through the runner. It says creates an apple tree instance, tests whether, so while there aren't any apples on the tree, it's going to age the tree. In our apple tree, we can even add like additional logic. So like if the tree is not dead and self.height or self.age is greater than 5, then it starts creating, but then like the height doesn't change either. So, or we can just say like, hey, once the height is greater than 5, it starts having apples on it. You can do something like that. So while the tree doesn't have any apples on it, it ages the tree. My apple tree is producing apples at the age of something and is something tall. While the tree is dead equals false, has an empty array. And while the tree has apples on it, it picks an individual apple and appends it to this apple tree basket. Let's see. And then so change this to be, so it is the calculated average diameter of all the apples. Okay, so we still have to do that. Cool. I'm just going to run this runner file. Python apple tree runner. Python. Oh, let's see what's happening. Am I stuck in an infinite loop? Why is that? Just gonna print tree.age. See if it actually. Oh, look at that. So what is happening?
I'm trying to remember what I changed last night, but there was something with the while loops and I was stepping through and it was never actually able to get out.
Yep, so apples equals false. Let me look at what I got. Apple loop. Is it my here has any apples? Oh, let's see, hold on. Interesting. Wait. Oh, that doesn't make, that's probably why. That was why. So hold on. There we go. All right. So yeah, there was an error in my logic in this. So I said, and if the height is greater than 5, but in here, the height was starting at 0, so the height was never greater than 5 to actually increase the height of the tree. So it never got into this. So don't worry about, just it's going to generate apples every year. So let's run that again. Am I printing something else? Oh, right here. I get rid of these print statements. There we go. So if you read it, my chapter is producing apples at age 1 and is a height of 4. So it grew 4 feet the first year. It created 7 apples. Create tree height. Oh, so here plus equals. So it looked actually went down in height. So it started at 4 and then went down to 2 because I wasn't actively adding to it. There we go. I don't know if apple trees can grow to 291 feet. So maybe I can add some logic in here to prevent it from growing once it hits a max height, but I'll leave that to y'all to do. So at the end, looks like harvest of none inches. So here I'm going to have to create a method that takes in this apple basket. So the length of the apple basket. Where's that? 3 apples, 2 apples, 5 apples. All right. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to write some helper method to calculate diameter. So what I'm going to do is clear. I'm going to create a new helper method, helper method dot py code helper method. And this is just going to take in an array. I'm going to call it like get average diameter. Takes in an array of apples. And then loop through. So for apple and range length of array of apples. So I can say like total diameter equals 0. Total diameter plus equals apple dot diameter. So it loops through, adds all the totals, and then I can just return the total diameter divided by the length of how many apples are in the thing. So I've got the apple basket is an array of apple instances. So I should grab that. So at the very top, I can say like from helper methods, import get average diameter. And I can say get average diameter and pass in the apple basket. If I did that, whoop, nope, that's not what I wanted. And I could add some int has no attribute diameter. Where's it at? Print. Oh, I know why. So I'm just going to do for apple in. So that's why, because that was so here we have the average diameter of each harvest. I can also round as well to nearest 2 if I wanted to. All right. Any questions about any of this? Or what questions do you have? Anybody want me to explain a little bit about explain something a little bit more in depth or go over something again?
I have a question on is it the first spec file that you had? Where is it?
This one.
Yeah. So when I was going through it, you know how you're using fail fast? Instead of using fail fast, is it wrong to just kind of comment out and go one by one?
Nope.
That's kind of what I did.
Nope. Yeah, that's actually what I typically do. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to comment out all of them except for the first one. I'll go all the way up, comment them out. All right, make sure that one passed. And then once that one passed, uncomment out the second one, run it, make sure this one, and then just go down. That's what I typically do, just so I know, just so it goes in order. So yeah, that's
Okay,
totally
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that was my thought process behind it. Is let me just go in order and knock out everything one at a time.
Yep, that's totally okay. Yeah, good questions. What other questions do you have?